So we are recording the meeting now. Okay. Before we move on, first of all, I know Amy, you have had your hand up. Do you want to come on screen now? This is Rain. I just noticed that no one can access me in the chat. So Lindsay, are you able to adjust that setting?
Yep, I just made that adjustment. Thank you.
Great, thank you. All right. So we're starting our meeting. The meeting is opened, but we're going to start with our communication access. So I know there's been some questions about why would we have two deaf interpreters, a lot of confusion, the different setup this evening. So I wanted to talk about this first, and then I want to talk about the chat as well, because the chat is also in regards to communication access for this meeting. The last meeting that we had, we did open the chat for everyone to access. So that means anyone can chat to whoever in the meeting, or you can do a direct message to someone, to me, to whoever you prefer. I like for folks to be able to directly chat me. If they say, oh, I'm having an access issue, they can do it directly to me instead of the whole group, and that's fine, that's great. So I want to ask the committee members, do you want to have the chat open like the last meeting, where anyone can chat freely and access that tool in this meeting? So you can chat directly to me, Rain, or you can do it to everyone. And please answer me now. If you would like to keep the chat, let's vote yes or no in regards to the chat for this meeting.
Yes, I'd like the chat on, please.
Okay, I see Drew said no preference. Flexible, okay, great. Tina said last minute that she wasn't able to come, so unfortunately she is not here. We'll miss her tonight. Other committee members that are here, let's see. Any objections to having an open chat for tonight's meeting?
I'm fine. I'm fine with the chat.
Great, thank you. Okay. So let's open the chat for tonight's meeting, please, Lindsay, so people can access that. I see Anne said yes to open the chat for everyone. Thank you. So now the chat is open for me. I can access it. So please let me know if you're unable to access your chat this evening. It seems that it's all set up. Great. I see Danielle did a test. Great. Awesome. All right, so we have the chat all set up. Oh, I want to add one more thing. In the chat, I like to have the chat open. You know, I think it's a nice feature to have in the Zoom meeting. It's more accessible as well. And remember, you can still direct message just me if you prefer, just to Rain. Just try to remember, if the chat is really active and busy, let's try to keep the chats on topic, or we can add a topic, you know, for this meeting, just to try to keep it to just topics that are related to the meeting. If the chat is too active and busy, I will miss messages. So we want to be mindful of that tonight. All right. And if I miss your message in the chat, you can always just let me know. Okay. So that's all I wanted to say about the chat. And we always start the meeting with the plan for communication. What the committee has decided in the past, we review it. We use interpreters, and we wanted to start using deaf interpreters. And we've been thinking about how we can better utilize our deaf interpreters. We're trying different ways, and we're open. You know, Kendra's typically here. She's typically the deaf interpreter. And so, you know, we've kind of been like, hey, Kendra, what do you think? And we're open to feedback. And tonight we have 2 deaf interpreters. But if I am at any point not clear and you feel like you need to clarify, you can just go ahead and clarify. That's great. And the interpreting team, you can decide what you need to do. Okay? Whatever's best for the communication. At the same time, the committee, right now, does everything work for the committee? Do the CART, the ASL interpreters, the deaf interpreters, visual access, is everything okay and working well for everyone? Does anyone feel like this is not working well or it's not accessible for them? You can put it in the chat or you can come on screen. Seems there's no comments, but I will wait to see if someone comes on screen. While we're waiting, you know, folks are asking, why do we have 2 deaf interpreters? So just to share with the committee, I was uninformed that we would have 2. I was unaware that we would have 2 deaf interpreters, so I am not sure. I did not request 2 deaf interpreters. That was not part of my interpreting request. I am open-minded to this. I'm not against it and saying, get out, deaf interpreter. We only need 1. I don't need 2. I'm against deaf interpreters. Of course not. That is not my stance on this. But, you know, of course, I value our deaf interpreters. And for any deaf folks joining who have a variety of communication, it's so great to have our deaf interpreters here with us tonight. So that decision to have a team of 4 interpreters tonight was not made by me. It was not made by our committee. The committee thus far, we've been discussing the interpreting supports and we're open-minded to adjusting those, checking in with the deaf interpreter, you know, consulting with them, what do you think, and taking any feedback. But there was no new decision to add to the interpreting team. That was not made by us. So that wasn't from the community. I had not received any community feedback, and it's not from the committee. So we were not a part of that decision. So that's my answer to those questions that I was asked tonight. However, welcome to all 4 of our interpreters. Thank you. Thank you for being here. So we only have 4 tiles on at a time for the videos. At this point, we have 3 used by interpreters. So if the interpreter team feels like that's what's needed, does that feel needed, that to have all 3 tiles on, videos on? Yeah, Heather will go off and Emily stated that that is fine with Emily as the team. And Kendra and Raina also say that's fine. Okay. So I'm not saying you have to do this. I just wanted to ask you all. If this setup is not working, interpreters, for some reason, just let me know. You can pop on, sub out. We're very flexible. But it's nice to have 3 people on right now. So if someone else comes on, I can stay on. I don't have to go off and someone's talking to, you know, not me. So, because right now I'm talking and I can't see anyone that's involved in this meeting. It's not really the best setup to have that. I don't feel that connection with everyone tonight. So I prefer to stay on to listen to you when you come on. That's all. So the interpreters during the meeting, any feedback, and you guys can give any feedback to the committee after on how we can improve this, okay? So committee members, if you have any feedback in regards to the interpreting setup, how many we have, the communication access, it's always the same as it has been, just let me know. Or you could let the Rhode Island Commission on the Deaf and Hard of Hearing know, let Ernest know, the referral service, up to you who you want to let know, but yeah. In our email, It's a lot of misunderstanding in regards to the Open Meetings Act. Many different interpretations of that, but my current understanding is that the committee members have been a little bit confused. You could email me directly if there's any confusion. Just reach out to me. And if it's about the day, the setup, we can come together as a group, all of us, but we can't discuss any content in the emails. So it's a little bit confusing and what's allowed to be discussed, how we can get interpreters, who the interpreters are, when we book them, the access, that's kind of vague to us. I'm trying to figure that out. So I've been working on that so far, but if you have any questions, please just ask me and we can have that discussion. You can email me individually and then I can email Ernest. So I can email Ernest directly, or in the group, it's limited to just the setting, when's the meeting, and that's it. That's all we can discuss as a group. So if I blast out an email to including Ernest and Bethany, and the committee members respond, you're only allowed to respond, yep, I got it. That's it. You can't discuss matters any further in that email chain. So that's kind of one con of the Opens Meeting Act, in my opinion. It doesn't really consider communication access, because communication access should be part of planning meetings. But, you know, the Open Meeting Act is, we're learning. So I just wanted to inform the committee members that are here tonight, because in email, I can't explain that. So I know it's been confusing thus far, and I hope this helps clarify things. So for the community members, you could always reach out to me. If you have feedback, always reach out to me. You have no limits, so you're not on the committee, so you can discuss things with me. Okay? Communication seems good and clear. Everything all right? Okay. The cart can hear clearly. Is that all right? I'm not sure the name of the cart person. We're just going to switch interpreters.
Okay, moving on. So I have a separate screen over here with my agenda on it. The agenda is quite, it's really just really light tonight, because I wanted to keep it as an open discussion. What are we leading? What are this discussion? What are the priorities? It's really the committee's decision. So I really wanted to give you the space on the agenda. Also, for the community members in attendance tonight, you may or may not have known, but we have established 2 separate work groups at the last committee meeting, and each work group had 3 committee members in it apiece. We do have a total of 7 members on the committee, but 1 member has not been active and has not been responding to my efforts in terms of communication. And that person was not assigned to a work group. So the active members of this committee are on the work groups, and there are 6 total. The work groups were focused on both the same topics, but 2 different groups in terms of brainstorming. And those brainstormings were in regards to collecting data in terms of barriers, problems, frustrations, feedback, just from the community, from individuals in terms of the referral service. And what the process is in terms of the systematic approach of the interpreter referral service. The second group focused on the ADA request for accommodations. We plan to submit that above the commission level, because when we had approached the commission and asked for support, it seemed like they couldn't. So we went to the Board of Commissioners, and we had received no answer in terms of support or stance on that. So I went above that, and the committee decided to establish 2 work groups just to start brainstorming on what I had recently explained. We do have 2 lists, and we believe both groups used Google Docs. I'm in one group, and we had used Google Docs just in terms of communication purposes. People in that group had various communication needs. So we only used Google Docs to communicate. So our document can be shared in this meeting, but it's pretty rough. It's not in its finalized form. There are a lot of threads, there are a lot of thoughts, and I tried to clean it up. So I just wanted to let you know that it might not be finalized, but that was the only way of communication that we had. The other group had the other 3 committee members on it, and there was the same thing for communication. Hold on one moment, we have a question. A comment from Amy, a committee member, that said recently read the rough draft that we had from the other group and can share it and clean it up. That's my goal, is that the point of this is just to explain what we've done first, the setup of it, and let you know what we were up to. And we both have rough drafts. The second group is a little more finalized than the first, good for them. But both have various points of view and a lot of thoughts, but they're very similar. And this was a comprehensive collection of data. And we're not finalized as of yet. We do need more work. We're in the process of starting to document and looking for patterns. We're identifying various categories, and that's where we're at right now. So in the meeting, we plan to talk about this and streamline things. We could screen share. I did send this out before the meeting so people could review it, but unfortunately, there wasn't a lot of time left to read it. So perhaps you haven't read it yet. But the whole point was just to see what the other group said and what's missing, including the identifying issues and the identifying factors, and then making a recommendation. Each problem identified, we did not come up with an identified solution for. There was some brainstorming and good ideas, and there were others that were pretty concrete in terms of the solutions. Others maybe not so transparent in terms of what those solutions were. So we have our recommendations, and we also have our identified problems. Also some related to the ADA letter as well that we have drafted. So we have 2 documents for those. And then we also have policies and procedures. And that's from the referral service from CDHH, the current policies and procedures. And to my understanding, they are current. I'm not sure how recently they were revised. Oh, 2019. It was revised in 2019, it says. But when they were given to me a few months ago during this committee process, we were collecting various paperwork and making sure that we have all of our ducks in a row. And that was one of the things that we collected, just to see what the procedures are and what the system looks like over there. So with that said, hopefully I gave you a clear picture of what this committee has been working on. So now with all of our work, all of our identified problems, our brainstorming, and our solutions, we really have to do the nitty-gritty work now and really work on documenting this, on formatting. Let me think. People on the committee, I feel like the committee has a pretty good idea of what the goal is. If you're a member and you're not, then please let me know. But I feel like we discussed a plan, and it's not immediate. It's going to take time to be able to rectify these problems. And we are showing the community that we're doing some things, and we are collecting some documentation, but it's just taking some time. And we already have decided in the beginning that it's going to take a long time. And most of that time will be spent data collection. So now we've got all the data, and it's time to dive in. And we can't pick one solution to recommend. Maybe there's multiple situations that require various solutions. So this is how we're trying to categorize the recommendations. From my chair point of view, what I'd like to see a result at the end of this process is that we're going to have to meet. We're going to have to continuously meet, and hoping at the end of our meetings, we will be able to submit a document to the entire commission. And that will be a summary report. So it'll be a summarized report of the work we've been doing and what our goals are, what the issues we have outlined, and also explaining not only the issues, but the intricacies and the solutions if we have them. So it's pretty much the point and then summarized. It's not a lengthy document. It's not a bulleted document as either. So it's a middle of the road, both mixed, a mix of two formats. So I would like the committee's feedback, but my thoughts right now is probably what would be best is do that summative report and then submit that to the commissioners. Before that commission meeting, we will submit our work. And we will also draft a letter with the summarized report and give that to the commission, who would then give it to the full commissioners. So we will be reviewing that at the commission meeting. We will read the entire thing or sign it, speak, sign, whatever mode of communication. The whole entire document will be out there. So for the entire public to hear, so that whatever you could see, either maybe CART interpreting or hearing in English, you will hear everything that we've done. Also, the commissioners will have the option of reading it prior to the meeting. So if they have any questions, comments, concerns, they are able to do so when we review that. And they're able to speak or sign. I think that's important that we have the summarized report, we have that letter, and it will become public record with the commission. So if we do the work and we submit it to the commission, but they back burner it, we can then say, hey, what about our recommendations? What about all of this work we've done, and what's the outcome? So this is something just to show accountability, and that this is what we have, this is what the committee has been working on, and that this is what's valued. The value is there. So nobody can say, well, what are you talking about? What document did you submit? This will all be done in public, and it would be, with this kind of process, it's very important to have a public record in the meeting, and that it's on file, on record, the entire document. I think it's clear, but if there are any questions about that, please let me know. So what I'd like to ask the committee members, do you feel like we have a solid plan now that we've met a few times? We've done the work. We do have to clean it up a bit and make it into a summary report. And that will take a few meetings. Perhaps we could still continue to work in our work groups. I think that would save a lot of time, meeting time anyway. But that's our idea. What is our result going to look at? We've got the recommendations, we've got the letter. And do you feel like the committee is good with this? Do you support this idea, or are you against it, or are you abstaining or hesitant to support it? I would like to see the committee members come on screen or maybe in the chat and give me your preference. Tell me what you prefer. Would you prefer, yes, I do, I support this process. I support the summary report with the letter and also having it on record. Or perhaps you disagree. Perhaps that's not the avenue you'd like to go. Or if you'd like to just abstain or keep a neutral position, or maybe if you're hesitant and you're not sure what to decide, and that's okay. I would just like to see the committee members and their thoughts. Amy? I'd like to continue meeting with the committee. I believe that it's worth cleaning up and also maybe soliciting more ideas and see what can happen. Amy, I just want to clarify. So there are different issues. I want to clarify what you said, Amy, because I was a little unclear. So let me know if I understood you wrong. You want to continue with the work group, or yeah, keep the work group going, but we'll have a list of what we've discussed so far, and we will continue to working on it. However, my question is about the end result, the end product. Because I do feel that it's important to have an end goal so that we can have an idea of what we're trying to do here. So that's my view here. Because if we don't have an end goal and then we feel like this is just going on and on and on in perpetuity, people get tired, people get burnt out. It is a lot of work, there's a lot of barriers, there's a lot of frustration. So that's my view. Amy, if you say yes, you'd like to continue working in those work groups. That's what you're saying, right? And also, Amy's saying yes, with a future plan of documenting everything together, cleaning everything up in both work groups, and then submitting it to the commission. That's what I would like to see happen. And I think it would be worth trying to make a deadline just for time's sake, because it is quite time consuming for many of us. So I think it's important if we could kind of come up with a deadline. And so we have an end goal. We have an end timeline with a product in mind. Thank you. That's clear for me. So you'd like to continue with the group work. I realize that there's a few issues here that are overlapping. So we're going to continue with the work group. We're also going to take both groups and continue to make them into one document. And then with that one document, we will submit to the commission and put on record, correct? Right. With your added idea of a deadline. Amy's saying for the ad hoc. So the committee members are working, we just need an end in sight. So maybe 2 months, or I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe other people could suggest a better timeline. I'm not sure. If we could just come to a consensus. But the more I think about, our time and our abilities and the work life and family life, so that's where I'm coming from. Thank you. No problem. I'm going to go off screen. Rain, that's my point about the outcome, the end product. Amy was better at explaining the deadline, and I agree. I feel like we're coming in, we're almost at home plate here, but I mean, it's just taken a while. It's taking a lot of work, a lot of confusion in the beginning. And I do like your idea that we can figure out, how long. I mean, we don't have to decide right this moment. We don't. We can come up with a timeline, but you would like to see continuous work on both the groups, and that would save a lot of time, and we can do more work longer. So thank you. Thank you for that. That was helpful. Let me see the chat and see what we've got here. I might have missed something. So Mike Bear has a comment. If you could just hold and we'll come back to that. Sure, no problem. That's perfect. So Talia says she agrees with Amy. Okay. So Amy and Talia both agree. Thank you. I see Anne has a comment. No? Or Anne, would you like to comment? No? Excuse me. Interpreter error. My face confused the interpreter. I was like, oh, non-manual signals. Okay. Anne sent me a message, but your comment looks like it was cut off. It was incomplete. It was cut off mid-sentence. Something I agree. Yes, I agree with the plan for the summarized report and for submitting the full document to the commission. But, and you also said, and also and then it just cut off. So I'm not sure what's after the. So if you can, I would love to support you. So if you could please end your, oh, you support the submission of the document to the commission on record and continue with both the groups. But if you'd like to add something more, because also what?
Let me just look and see who's here and make sure I'm not missing anyone. Oh, Drew. Drew. I haven't seen a response from you yet. Don't know if you're available to come on screen or send me something in the chat. I think you're the last committee member for this evening because Tina is not here. Oh, okay, I see your message, Drew. Great, thanks. Drew agrees with Amy. Great. So Amy, you had a good response. Okay. Seems that everyone who is here agrees. Great. I think that's helpful and kind of gives us an end goal and what we're kind of aiming towards and a target at the end of all this, Great. Okay, Anne said, oh, sorry, a keyboard problem. Not a problem. I'm reading the rest of your message now. Give me 1 second. So Anne mentioned also the rest of her comment. It's a great point. The ADA letter, we could also include that in our submission to the commission as well. We can include those 2 documents. So yeah, I think that's not a terrible idea. That sounds pretty good. And we can discuss that further. And you also mentioned a letter that we should submit to another place, to the governor's office maybe, and the attorney general's office. Okay, so I'll answer that part of your question. Let me close the chat. It was blocking my view of the screen here. So yes, we need to discuss that, the ADA letter. Let me hold my thought for one moment, and I'm going to make a note so I don't forget to go back to that topic. I have some additional information in regards to who that we could submit this letter to, who could we talk to, so we can discuss that. But first, let me take a step back here. So it seems the committee is all in agreement in regards to our plan. My second question is, if we continue the work groups, does anyone have any opinions on continuing the work group? Either we just continue in the same groups, maybe we mix the groups around, mix it up for different dynamics to be in the groups, or do you feel indifferent, pretty neutral? Those are your three options. Again, I want to ask the committee, any opinions? This is Amy. I prefer to leave it the same. I just don't want to deal with having to go through it again, take more time, revisit things, just leave them as they are, and that's easier. We don't have to get permission again on how we format things or go through a middle person. I think we should just keep it. Is that okay? And Rain saying, yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I had the same thoughts. Really, what's the most efficient for our work groups, you know? That's my preference. Whatever is more efficient. That's why I wanted to ask, but I thought maybe I should ask everyone because folks might prefer to mix it up to have more of a dynamic, but my opinion is the same as yours, Amy. All good? You want to add anything else? Amy saying, nope, all good. Rain said, thank you. I see Drew's message in the chat. Drew said that she agrees. Please said I'm pretty indifferent, don't mind. So we'll decide to keep them as they are, keep the work groups, okay? Perfect. I'm just checking off things on my list so we can keep proceeding in our meeting and get through all these topics. My apologies, my screen got a little skewed here. Just bear with me one moment. Oh, I hope everything will come back. I have a whole setup here I'm trying to look at. Oh. Oh, technology. All right. Okay, I think everything's back. It's saying I'm not online, and I'm like, yes, I am online. I'm online. What are you talking about? Oh, you liar. Okay. Anyways. Okay. I'm looking at the agenda. I'm just thinking here, making sure I'm going through all the items. Okay. I'd like to give the committee members a chance if anyone wants to make a comment. I know some folks can't stay for the whole meeting, so anything that you want to make sure that we pay attention to tonight or address immediately, we can prioritize that. You can have the floor. Any committee members have anything to add? If you do not, then we will proceed with the document. Alrighty, seems that there are no comments. If something arises, just please come on screen or raise your hand. Mike Bear momently ago asked about the work groups. We don't have the commission staff on the work groups currently. There are no staff from the commission. So in the beginning, we were told that any staff representation from the commission would only be for questioning, to call on them if we need something, to obtain information, like the Open Meetings Act, any questions in regards to that, that's where we can pull them in, but we don't have them in any staff in our work groups. I hope that answers your question. And Mike has come on screen and says, hi. No, that was not my question. I'm asking if I could make a suggestion. Hello, everyone. Rain saying, oh, okay. And Mike saying, good evening. To make this more productive, more efficient, I would like to suggest, I only received one work group document this evening that was given to me. I read through it. It is excellent. But there are some misinformation there in that document. And I've already taken some notes. So I had some recommendations, and for the sake of time, maybe, I don't mean to have a staff be involved in the work group. That was not my intention, any staff from the commission, but I had a suggestion for your document. All of the issues you identify, the examples there, any recommendations, that format is good. Maybe add one more column to your document that would let us provide how we're doing this, how we're facing this today. I think that's very important for everyone to understand what we are doing in regards to this or regards to that for whatever reason. So to make it kind of a two-way street instead of a one-way street, and some of the information there is incorrect, and then we'll have to go back and forth. That's a session I have for some feedback, just to add that column that would allow us to respond kind of in between, like give us a week to make some notes, give it back, and you can continue the work you're doing on it, and then we can go back and forth that way. That's just my suggestion I wanted to share. Thank you. Rain saying, thank you for clarifying. I misunderstood your comment and your question, sorry. So Mike, I don't think you were here at the beginning, just so you know. You were here for this meeting, but in the previous meetings, I've been kind of hesitant on what we want to move forward on for this agenda today. But your comment, I do understand your comment. But we've already addressed these things many times thus far. And when the staff were involved in our meetings, we ask questions. What's the policy for this? What's your procedure for this? We ask those questions. We have done that in the past. And most of the information that we have were from staff themselves. And if some information is incorrect, if any information is just not correct, the point is the committee is collecting information at the moment. So if some information is not correct or inaccurate, really it's for transparency. We have transparency issues sometimes. Sometimes there's miseducation in the community, things of that nature. So really the point of this committee to come together, and the point of our work that we're doing is not to point fingers at anyone. We were asked and called upon to do this work. So we're doing the work. And we will submit what we come up with, and we will look into it for ourselves and do our research and submit what we come up with. And then, you know, whatever happens, it can be responded to accordingly. That's my short answer to your comment, but I kind of want to hold off on that this evening because we did have discussion about this previously in prior meetings. And we do have a lot of interaction with the staff at the commission via email, questioning in meetings, so on and so forth. So I appreciate your comment. And Mike saying, okay, that's fine, thank you. I just wanted to bring that up. And unfortunately, it's a little frozen for me. Yeah, frozen. Mike, do you mind backing up? You said. Yeah. Am I clear now? Try again. Yeah, try again. Rain saying. So Mike saying, unfortunately, it's unfortunate this happened. The staff responses are not correct. They seem invalid in some of those documents. So everything needs to be documented there. And that will really resolve a lot of misunderstanding or delay in communication. That's why I wanted to make that suggestion if we have that extra column, but I understand your point, Rain. And the ad hoc was created by the community to, discover these things and bring it to the commission. So yeah, and, our response and all of that, okay, that's fine. I was just thinking to maximize the opportunity to interact and instead of, waiting to go back and forth. But again, that's just my opinion and my thoughts. So that's fine. Thank you, Rain. Thank you very much. And Rain saying, I appreciate that. Because that is true, that back and forth. But this ad hoc committee that was created after we already had meeting after meeting after meeting with the referral service and the executive director of the commission. There were many recommendations made and many things that were documented. And Mike saying, I see that, I agree. And Rain saying they decided to stop those meetings and we made this. So we have a slow process now. We have to go back and forth, unfortunately. And Mike is saying, I understand, that's fine, all good. Rain saying, thank you, Mike. Okay, let's move on. So now I can share one of our documents. Is that what the group would like? Is that okay with everyone? I want to use our time wisely. Okay, Amy said yes. Just looking for, I think, Lindsay, am I allowed to share my screen? I think only you can share screen, right?
I've made you co-host. If you'd like to share your screen, you can. I also have the documents, so I can share whatever you prefer.
Rain saying thank you. That's what I thought, that I was co-host, but I found it. Oh, sorry. It just looks different on the bottom of my screen here in my tools, but I can see the share screen button now. So I'm gonna try to share my screen and see how it goes and if everyone can see it and how that works. Kendra saying, is it better if I go off screen? So you could just have two people next to the screen share so folks could see you both in the screen share. And Rain is saying, either the deaf interpreter goes off or the hearing interpreter goes off. It really doesn't matter. The person who's feeding or who's on, it's up to you, but we can try one person going off. If anyone in this meeting this evening feels like, this isn't working and I want to see the deaf interpreter, please do let me know in the chat directly to me, or you can come on screen. Okay. And Kendra, I forgot Joe. Kendra saying Joe. This is a sign name. Ryan saying I forgot his sign name. Sorry, but either one of you, if you're seeing something and you're feeling like, I need to get involved, just come on screen. Okay. Kendra saying, yep, sounds good. Ryan saying, okay, thank you. I'm going to open the cleaner document that we have first. Okay, just one moment, please. So if we need a break, I think it's a good time so I could pull up the document. So if you want to run to the bathroom, get a drink, I'm going to be looking for documents. So if you need to step away, now's probably the time to do that. Just give me one moment, please. All right, we're having a different plan because I can't share my screen. So Lindsay, if you wouldn't mind opening up the document for us, I wish I could kind of have the controls, but well, just to save time, I'm struggling here. It's not working with me. Oh, I need to open it. Oh, Talia, sorry, you have to leave the meeting. All right, thank you. Thank you so much for your work in the work group, Talia. We're going to continue our work group, so thank you so much for your work in that. So Lindsay, or RICDHH, that Zoom user, I think it's Lindsay, says they have to spotlight who's signing when we screen share for the recording. And Kendra's saying, yeah, side by side. And Rain saying, okay, Lindsay, who do I ask for the document? Interpreter asked for clarification and Rain forgot what was said. Kendra wasn't looking. Kendra, you typically catch what I missed, what I forget. I said, Lindsay, did you hear me ask for the document?
Nope, I can screen share if you'd like and start with the agenda.
Hold on, people are talking at the same time, Rain said. Oh, Mike's saying, oh, sorry. So Lindsay, sorry, what was your comment?
If you need me to screen share, I can.
Rain saying, sorry, I want to pull up the document. I think it was called Work Group 1. I think it has a blue and black font and titles and headings and stuff like that.
Sure, yep. So I have your agenda. I have work group 2, as well as ad hoc problems and solutions has blue and black text.
Yep, that's the one.
Okay, yep, let me share that.
We're going to switch interpreters.
All right, I'm going to go off screen.
I'm gonna assume Mike Bear's gonna help with that. Bear, were you talking, what were you talking about recently with your comment that you made? When you were both talking at the same time and you came off screen, would you like to come back on screen? Okay, seems like not. Is this blurry or is it just me? It seems blurry. It's small. Okay, maybe zoom. Can we zoom in a little bit? And yeah, perfect. That's better. Great. Now can you see better? Oh, Amy said better. Okay, so for this, for the recording, we have to have one signer. Is that correct? Someone from RICDHH? Can you clarify? Anyone? No. This is Rain. Rain spotlight. Thank you. If a different person is signing, then I'll try to prompt Lindsay to switch the spotlight. So this is the clean version. You can read it yourself. It's very gibble here. If anybody would like me to sign a certain portion of it, please just let me know and I will sign this. Should we read the whole thing and then talk about it? Go ahead, you can scroll up. Perfect. Please scroll up a little bit more. Thank you. A little bit more. Looks different. Looks funny. Lost my place. What happened? It doesn't seem like when you scrolled up, it seemed like it jotted to a different place of the document. I wish I had the number now. Thank you. For the future, I will number the pages. It's me, the number of the bullets, excuse me. I will number the bullets and the categories and each bullet point.
This is Lindsay. I'm gonna zoom in to the left-hand side and then scroll over to the right.
Wait, hold on. If you spotlight me, no one can see the interpreter when they're signing what you say.
Thank you. Sorry. I'm gonna scroll, zoom in to the left-hand side.
No,
of this.
so Lindsay, Rain is the one spotlighted right now. So when you speak, you need to spotlight Heather, the interpreter.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right, so this document is split for some reason, the last 2 pages. So I'm gonna zoom into the left-hand side first and let me know when you want me to scroll down. And then we can go over to the right side to view the last document.
I'm going to speak so you don't have to remove the spotlight.
So this is Rain speaking, just to improve communication confusion with Spot. This is why we don't like to use Spotlight. So I definitely see what you're saying. Did we see the whole first page though?
Yes.
That,
So that's the whole first page.
okay. All right, yes, so if you could zoom in on that left side, thank you. I didn't understand where those bullets were coming from, but I see it was the title from the previous page. Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So if you could spotlight Rain again.
Thank you. Okay, it's a little bit Okay, so we'll go ahead and start reading, and when we need to scroll up, I'll let you know. We're ready to scroll up. Good. Are you ready to move on to the right side? Are you good? Okay. Good. I think there's more. Yep. There we go. You ready? You on? Are we ready? I think we're all set. That's it for that one. So for some reason, for some reason, I thought there was more, but I guess that's it. Okay. So first of all, wow. I think that's great. I mean, there are so many identified issues. And that's what we've been seeing in terms of collecting the data. This is what we've been communicated to. So in terms of the work group that we've been doing. Some of the feedback submitted was, some of it was common. We knew some of it surprised me. So I just want to say good work. This is the reason why we have deaf, hard of hearing, deaf, blind people doing the work. Because interpreters, we think, oh, we're pretty experienced, but there's always new idea and new information that comes about. So thank you. Thank you for that. Would we like to look at the document and then comment, or would it just be easier to comment without, because then we wouldn't have to use the spotlight. If we shared screen, then we'd have to use the spotlight. But if we just want to talk about it without seeing the document, we wouldn't have to. So I'm not sure what the committee would prefer. My keyboard also died. Me and Anne, we're two of the same. So I don't see any opinions. I myself would like to look at the document and see some of what we're talking about, because if I don't see it to refer to, I get confused. But I also don't want to mix two documents. I don't want to pull the other document up at this point because we haven't discussed the first one yet. So are there any feedback, any points of clarification or any comments or anything? Seems like there's no opinions about discussing this first, so I guess we'll just move on. Amy's saying, I'd like to make a comment about something I saw there for DCYF. So today, I'm sorry, my kid's here, but today it was announced about DCYF. I think it's really important to focus on the opportunities to partner and create rapport with DCYF specifically. That's just my thoughts, because I still think we really need to consider who's in those group of interpreters that are going into DCYF cases, and are they capable? It's a very sensitive situation most of the time, and it's just assigned to various interpreters. And sometimes there's legal situations involved, and sometimes Do the interpreter referral have the ability to identify or recognize what constitutes legal for DCYF jobs, or what constitutes the qualified interpreter? Are there any policies, expectations, something? I'm just nodding my head at you, Amy, because you're making all great points. That paragraph there, that section there in terms of DCYF was really, really important. And I know that this committee has been very concerned. It's one of our biggest concerns, because you're right. It's a vulnerable population within the DCYF system, and children's, adults, both, they're vulnerable. Amy, do you need clarification? Oh, we're good. Rain saying, I would just like to repeat what I said for clarification. Amy, correct me if I'm wrong. So what Amy said was that they just announced today a new settlement with DCYF. So it looks like DCYF will be more willing to cooperate, which means we can predict it might be a good time to create that rapport with DCYF and develop a sense of best practices and overall system of policy and procedures for them. Because between CDHH and DCYF, especially referral, and in regards to CDHH, I know that section you were talking about, advocacy. So in that document, this is what we've been talking about for a while now. And one big theme that we've seen is advocacy. Advocacy, there is, unfortunately, there's a gap in advocacy. CDHH, excuse me, I'm distracted by the chat. CDHH has some areas where they do advocate, but there are various needs out there in the community at the state level, and CDHH is just a very small organization, and their point of view, I mean, so what I've received from the executive director in terms of this committee is that we can't do any kind of advocacy, or we don't have enough staff to advocate and the like. So if that's a problem, okay, let's document that in our report, in our summarized report. Like DCYF instances, medical, hospital, insurances. We know that this is a big concern in terms of our community, especially the insurance issue. Talia had documented this and also spoke about it in the committee quite frequently. And it's a big concern. Where hospitals are getting interpreters, or the insurances are paying and not the right interpreters are showing up. So that's one category. Then another category is DCYF. However, we also have to talk about advocacy and education and disseminating materials.
Sorry, the tiles moved around. We're good now. So all of those have common themes, and the common theme there is advocacy. And for me, when we really start to make this document and find all these pieces and piece together this one document, the one theme should be advocacy. And that's my opinion. So in that previous work group in their document, I see that theme arising a lot in each section that they've shared. And also we just had a message about, Amy, you just commented about DCYF. And thank you for sharing that new settlement. Wow, that is good to know. That is one way that we can push this and say, now is the time. Now is the time to get this ball rolling. I don't know how the commission can, but that is not our responsibility. Our goal is just to recognize these things and give our recommendation. So that part is really good in the document. Those ideas are great. I agree with all of those. We just need more education to the referral service itself. To have a policy or a procedure, it'd be more like a procedure actually. If a request is received that is of a certain nature, it's a red flag. And there's a pool of interpreters who can meet the needs of that request. You're already speaking what I'm thinking, or reading each other's minds. Because in that paragraph, that's what you were saying there. It's very clear to me, yeah. So for legal, some situations need a legal interpreter, some wouldn't. It just depends on the nature of the assessment with DCYF. Sometimes they do, it is a legal situation, sometimes it's not. But in Rhode Island, I'm repeating, I'm saying this over and over again, legal interpreters we're so desperate for them. There's almost none. It's terrible. There's almost going to be none. There is one actively working. So the availability of freelancers to go to DCYF is, tough. So we need advocacy there. We see that common theme there for DCYF. We need training and education and these procedures for the referral service. In regards to DCYF requests, in regards to medical requests, when insurance situations arise, and all those categories. So there are two themes there that I see. And we have examples of those in the work group sheet that we just shared. And establishing a pool of interpreters, how do we identify what interpreters could be in this pool? How do we decide if they're qualified or not? If it's a legal situation, there's a criteria that's clear in Rhode Island, if it's in a court-based setting, and if it's not a court-based setting, it's kind of a little bit more vague and unclear there. If situation is, this could be legal, is it legal? We're not sure. Those situations arise, and no one's really clear on those. So I see advocacy there. I see training, education for the referral service, and the procedure for receiving requests. And when you receive a request, there should be an automatic kind of category you assign this request to. They should fall into categories. Is this urgent? Is this severe? Is this immediate? You need a second person to look at this request, the dynamics of it. The DCYF, oh, I need my full attention on this. What prompts the work to be done on the request? Is it mental health? That field is really lacking around. There's nothing with that in the referral service. So there's no identification of what's a mental health request. How do you identify, identifying, I'm trying to think of the language here, qualified interpreter? I don't know. I mean, I'm going to take notes on this, but if there's better language or terminology, please let me know. So in that document, I would like to see that. Those are the themes that I see, the document that we just shared. One second. Just taking some notes here. Any other themes that were recognized from that document that we want to share now? I could collect some themes if anyone else wants to share. Because I'm collecting themes, and then we can kind of compile these themes together when we make our final document. I could create maybe a new Google Doc. I can't share with everyone. I am unable to do so because of the Opens Meeting Act. But I can open it and share it with you all during the next meeting. I could do that. But the two documents that were made from their work groups, I could make one new document and kind of compile those themes together. Any other themes that were recognized? Anything that stood out to you from the document we just read? Let's see. Something in the chat. Let me just check. Oh, thank you, Maureen. You put the link there to the DCYF and the DOJ settlement. Great. Thank you very much. I haven't seen that today, so I'm glad that you shared that there. It seems there are no other comments in regards to that first document we just reviewed. There's a lot there. I think it's great. It's good. And we'll continue to work on it and restructure it, but it looks great. The content is great. I'm just thinking, looking at the time, how to prioritize the remaining time. On the agenda, we have public comment. And I do want to have that opportunity for public comment. We do really value that time. We really appreciate folks who join our meeting. It's awesome. I think this committee has more public community members joining than others. So I want to acknowledge that. Go us. I don't know if that's true or not, but it seems to be the case. So if anyone would like to put a chat in or would like to come on screen, we can do some public comment now. I'll give everyone a minute to get adjusted. There's nothing? Okay. Again, the chat is open. So people have made comments there in the chat throughout this meeting. I'm sorry. Oh. 30-minute reminder for the interpreters we have. That's from the Rhode Island Commission Deaf and Hard of Hearing. I don't know what that means. I don't understand that comment. Do you mind clarifying that comment? And Kendra saying, I think it's just time for the interpreters. There's 30 minutes left of the meeting that we're booked till 8. Maybe that's what it's for. Rain saying, okay. Yep. The meeting will be concluded at 8. So I see a comment from Maureen. Good question, Maureen. Thank you. I haven't shared this yet. The question stated is, will the document shared tonight be included in the minutes of this meeting or shared another way with the public? The answer is yes. We did submit to it be officially included in this meeting. So it will be attached to the minutes, yes. If there's another way to share this publicly, you know, I'm unaware of it. I'm open to any ideas. I'm open, excuse me, interpreter, I'm open. If there's another way to share, other way folks want to see it, I'm open to that. But the document is still, well, the reason one we just shared was pretty, but the next one is a little messy still, let's say. We're still working on it. People, you know, are working on it today. Up until this moment, they were throwing in things in there. So it's hard to share that kind of work at this point in time, but yes, we will attach that to the minutes and we'll continue to work on this document. It'll be a working document from here on out and there'll be edits to it, okay? Hope that answers your question, Maureen. Bonnie Kaplan saying hello. Well, kudos to that document. There's pros and cons definitely in the recommendations there. So I'm wondering if you set a timeline in regards to the expectation that these problems will become resolutions, when they'll be resolved, and how do you all know what is possible for us to accomplish or what might have to be put on the back burner? It seems there's a lot of issues that have arose in our community, and of course we've expected that for any referral. It's not only, in Rhode Island. I'm sure other referral services have their issues as well, just because things continue to shift and changes continue to happen within the community, within people change, technology changes, staffing needs change. There always change, right? And myriad variables that go into the work they do. But it would be nice to have something established that is set in stone that could be considered, something that's workable every couple years, 3-4 years, that we revisit these things and say, we need to add a revision to this instead of just leaving it. So a perfect example is with TCYF and their policy. They haven't changed their policy in ages. Over 20 years, that policy hasn't been changed. And now with the DOJ involvement and announcing the settlement, so they got a response there. So, all agencies should have the policies that should be reviewed every couple of years, really. And it seems in Rhode Island that is not really, they don't take things seriously in regards to policy and procedure. So it kind of just sits there and say, oh, we have a policy for that. It's fine. The procedure's fine, but it's not fine. Honestly, it's not. The world is changing. Change happens all the time. And the business mindset is to accommodate with change. Things change, and we have to stay on top of these changes and share with the community as well. I feel like the community here in Rhode Island is so unaware as to what's happening in regards to policy and procedures. And do they actually understand what's involved in these policy and procedures? Because that information is never shared. So there's many things that I could say, but Rhode Island could do a lot of things better, really. But of course, it takes time. Yes, we know that. So those are just my thoughts this evening and some comments. Thank you very much. Rain saying, got it. Okay, I'm putting this all down. Okay, thank you, Bonnie. Your comment is very helpful, for me at least, from everything you just stated. It's good. It's a good reminder. Some people might know things, but I'm so deep into this mindset because I'm looking into these things and researching and talking to the committee and working on the committee. And then I come up to get some air and I'm like, oh, wow, okay. And then I go back to do my work. So, I really value the community's input and the feedback and your public comment and the everyone on our committee. It's great. We're doing great work. This committee has been kind of staggering along from the beginning, but we've, overcome many things, had many issues, obstacles we had to overcome. So I really want to applaud the committee members and the public who continue to come to these meetings. Even if you come one time or you come every time, it's just, you always have good points to share. So thank you very much. But Bonnie, yes, you made me think. I'm thinking now. You had a good suggestion. We could make a recommendation that the commission, that the commission reviews. Let me look here. The referral service itself, something along those lines. The referral service would look into or revisit these things every couple of years, whatever timeline is set. Review the system or something of that nature. That is best practice. You were right. And that is pretty standardized out there with referral services. Any referral service in any state, they do that. That is best practice. And also they do review the policy and procedure. That is correct. That's what should be done. Just like the policy and procedure I talked about at the beginning of this meeting that the referral service gave me. The last time it was revised, I believe, was 2019. But prior to that, I don't know how much edits were made to the document prior to 2019. So that's a good point that we can put in our recommendation. Absolutely. Just have a specific schedule that's suggested to them. Also, you remind me of the theme, transparency, and how to share with the community, not only information, but how the information is shared and how the community can best understand that information and access it. So people who use the services and who the commission is for, what are all these things for? What is CART for? What are interpreters for? The community, right? So everyone should know what's going on there. And I agree, many folks are unaware, in the dark, don't have a good solid understanding, and there is confusion. So that helped me with the theme. Thank you very much. I'm gonna switch interpreters.
Thank you for giving me time to make sure I was on mute for coughing. So Anne, you had commented to me and said that I commend that work group, Amy, Talia, and Drew. They did a great job documenting. And Anne was asking if we should use that document for our main document that we submit, or more like a template, use it as a template. And then we could add to that from the other document, or whatever, you know, we have in that document. We can kind of copy and paste and make that be the main document that we start with. And I agree, and this is a pretty nice document. They did a great job in formatting and outline. So if that group doesn't mind, I won't go into your document, your shared document. I'm not going to touch it, but I will copy and paste and use it as a template and create a new document so that we can combine the two. If there are any objections, just let me know. I assume it should be fine, but Anne, thanks for that idea. That was good, thank you. I do agree with you. It's less work, you know, we don't have to write this whole document over again, so that was clever. Wow, a lot of time today that we've been diving in. So we have about a little bit under 20 minutes left. We can look at the other documents, or we can briefly discuss about the ADA request. So, committee, how would you like to use your time? I'm not sure it's worth to open up a new document currently right now, so. Okay, Amy says prefer to look at the other document and keep on the same topic, unless anybody else objects. No objections. Okay, we'll carry on. Open the second one, the messy one. So it is unfinished. It is not cleaned up. Lindsay, if you wouldn't mind opening the other document. No objections. Thank you, Anne. Spotlighted me, great. Oh, it looks different. Interesting. Okay. This looks different than what it was on my computer. So. Could you zoom in just a little bit? Thank you. Can you go scroll further? Perfect. So the first one is in regards to transparency. I feel like this has already been discussed on the first work group. So I don't believe there's a need to rehash unless there's feedback. But it seems like the community is not aware of how the system works and they don't understand it. They're confused. If the request is filled, the deaf people have no idea of knowing either way if an interpreter will be there or not. And the requester as well. There's no contact if it's filled or not. So the deaf person shows up and there's no access. We have several examples of this in the past. Let's see if we could go up a little bit further. So this is one example in regards to the above. We had a group discussion about just putting some examples in there from our group. And then we decided later if we wanted to keep a few examples. Excuse me, hold on. I can't see the interpreter. Hold on. Okay, I can change the view so I can see the interpreter now. I feel like I'm a little bit more present in the meeting. So there's the work group, then they had decided to name some examples, and they did. What they've seen, what they've experienced, or what they've been told. So we've been collecting that information. Now, the full committee can decide later if we'd like to keep those examples of 1, 2, or just omit the examples. But we do have them here saved. So I will leave it for now. So if you do scroll up, there are more examples. If you could skip the examples when you scroll so we can get to the next item. If you could scroll up, please, Lindsay. Thanks. It's funny, looks funny. I'll summarize this because it's a little bit of a back and forth here on this document. That prior example spoke about deaf, hard of hearing, deaf, blind people don't know if they have an interpreter or not when they're going to their appointment. And the provider also does not know if, or the requester, excuse me. And I'm talking about specifically medical situations. And often they are medical, but there are other examples as well that aren't medical. The requester is unaware, the consumer is unaware, or the requester assumes that they do have an interpreter because no news is good news, right? So if they hear nothing, they assume they have an interpreter. But then moving forward, the consumer, the deaf consumer shows up to the appointment, the meeting, whatever, and there is no access because there was no interpreter confirmed. And that's often the case with medical. And deaf, blind, deaf, hard of hearing people do experience this often where they have to go into their medical provider and communicate via written English back and forth. And it's happened several times to several people. And or the appointment itself gets postponed. Or the person just gives up and says, you know what, fine, I'll just go without because I'm sick of postponing. So we see that. And it's doing actual physical harm to deaf patients. And it's causing serious health problems. Because maybe the problem is overlooked or missed, or they're not getting the appropriate treatment. And we're all aware of it happening, but it is actually witnessed and it is frequent. The problem with requesters is they're not clear if they have an interpreter or cart or accessibility. They're unclear if it's confirmed because they will reach out to the commission and there's no response. Or in the other document, it mentioned a fax. So they'll send a fax, but maybe it was never received, or maybe it's just sitting in the fax tray or something. So the next paragraph talks about considerations. So maybe if we could lead the referral specialist, there's one lead interpreter referral specialist for a job. And then there could be the second coordinator who's a backup person. But the lead would be responsible for responding, for collecting the information, for filling the job, for feedback, collecting feedback afterwards, or just if it's a regular meeting, sit down with the executive director for regular meetings and for supervision. Also, it could be the person could be responsible for telling the commissioners or updating the commissioners. Because in the past, we had some sort of presentation made at the meeting from the referral specialist who will give statistics, data, and the like. But it seems like we haven't had that in a while. So we're gonna have to check into what's going on with that. But the biggest problem that we've seen, and this is what this part right here talks about it. There are no policies and procedures in regards to that we have seen. We have asked for the policies and procedures. We have not seen any in regards to documentation, in regards to receiving a request, and then what's next? What is the process? Is there an automatic response as soon as it's received? That's most common in referrals, is that there's an automatic response that says, we've received your request. It does not mean it's confirmed, it's recognized. And it says right on there, it's not confirmed. But they will contact you within 24 hours or within 24 business hours. So that's the idea that we're speaking of in terms of communication with the requesters. And then there's also the service with the community, the consumers in the community, the deaf, hard of hearing, deaf, blind. So if there's policies or procedures in regards to the work that's done, to data specifically, the other document speaks of it too, that it can automatically be assigned. So for example, the USCAD program that they use, it has an automatic way to filter requests via an assigned number of a request. And that way they can also collect reports of data. They can pull reports and they can quarterly, yearly, they have all of their data in the system. And the referral specialist who has the most experience or is the most professionally trained and the ideal and knows the ideal setup or preference for the deaf, the hard of hearing, or the deaf blind. I want to go back and clarify. The lead referral specialist, we ideally would want that person to have the most experience, to be qualified, meaning that they would be an interpreter or a deaf and hard of hearing consumer, a user of interpreting services, or both. And then that second person could be an assistant. But that lead person with the oversight would be the main responsibility in terms of the referral system. We do have more than a few people involved in the referral system currently. So there's been there could be a lot of changes in terms of creating a new position or positions with the current structure. So that was our biggest recommendation. So this is what I just summarized. Oh, wait. Oh, never mind. It's what I just spoke about, but also Anne put a comment in there in regards to, this is what it speaks of, going to a workshop. I think it was Bear and Mike. Oh, and Osel. I think it was Osel. Oh, maybe Margaret Malloy. So there was, it's a workshop in terms of how to advocate for yourself. And Osel puts it on in terms of communication access and the like. Osel and Mike Bear was also involved. Anne said that many people showed up. There was a huge turnout and felt that Mike Bear had explained everything quite clearly. And Mike's saying yes. Oh, spotlight, sorry. We need the spotlight on Mike. I am just on screen to confirm your statement that it is true. Margaret Malloy and myself, hold on, we're not spotlighted.
So Lindsay, could you spotlight Mike Bear? Thank you.
Okay. This is Mike. I just wanted to confirm what Rain was stating. She is correct. It was Margaret Malloy and myself. We had given a self-advocacy workshop. And you're right, it was wonderful. There were two within the last year. And seemingly there's more requests for this to come in the future. So yes, you are right. You are correct. Thank you.
So Lindsay, if you could spotlight Rain. And if you could take away Mike.
So I wanted to focus on a comment from Amy, and then we're going to have to wrap up. Amy stated, you're right. There's no, so the policies and procedures, I suggest we prioritize looking at that for the next meeting. Some of us have already seen it. Honestly, it's public information. So for me, it was not easy to find. I wish it would be publicly posted like other states do. But if you, the committee members or the public that are here, want to know what the policies and procedures are for the referral service, you can, if you don't have it, you can ask. You can ask directly for it. Read them yourselves, think it over, make notes. But right, Amy's point is there are no procedures or policies in terms of how to serve, like the referral service itself. So the referral, the policies and procedures of the referral is actually about how outside people should interact with the referral service. When it really should be the interpreter referral itself. There are a few things in the policies and procedures about the function of the interpreter referral, but it's more about the requester and the rules for interpreters and the rules for requesters and state agencies, private entities. It's all mainly for outside people. So that's one place we could spend our time and really look into. A past committee member, I believe all of the committee members believe the past, we did get an email from Ernest. We had received an email and it included an attachment, a few attachments that we had requested. One of them was the policies and procedures. And this was a while back. You can ask if you'd like to directly be given them, but we can't discuss that in email. Hold on a moment. Can you take off the share screen, please? Yes, I agree. Spotlight off, please. One moment.
This is Rain. It looks like the spotlight is still on Heather. We just remove spotlight completely.
I got you. The interpreters are done at 8. I get it. So right now it is 8 o'clock. I will propose 2 minutes to wrap up and adjourn the meeting. Interpreters, is that okay? Great. We've got confirmation from the interpreters that they will stay a few extra minutes. Amy? Go ahead. I'm sorry, I was just waiting for the interpreters to change, sorry. So really, I just wanted to ask again, for the job description, people who work in the referral, people who have contracts for the referral now, like the contracted position, what is that expectation? What is the role that fills? And yeah, that's it. I know I asked for that a while ago and I haven't seen anything, but I would like to see it. It would also help with the work that's being done. Well, the work groups and the documentation and all that. I will email and ask for that. It seems like there's been some changes as well. What do you mean? So I think there's 2 contractors now instead of 1. And some people's roles are a little confusing. So I think it would be good to ask for that via email. Thank you. Also, to respond to the commission. Ernest should respond via the commission. So. Okay, thank you. So we planned, I forgot what the plan for the last part, but anyway, so I know we're right up to the 11th hour here. We are almost done and we were not able to discuss the ADA request. It seems no one had responded in terms of the extension. There's no executive order extension for meetings to be, Mike? The governor has not yet announced it, but I have been keeping a close eye on it. And I respond to the community, but really it should be announced anytime. I think the deadline is the 31st. That's tomorrow. So we'll hear something by tomorrow, I'm sure. Great. Thank you, Mike. Thank you. So that means that we have to figure out, do we proceed with the ADA in the work group? Do we proceed and submit it? Or do we try to meet in person? I mean, it's more frustration, but we will wrap up in the essence of time. We have 3 minutes over time. So thank you to everyone for coming tonight. I'll start the Google Doc for the committee and the work groups. If you could please continue to work in your groups. Thank you very much. If you would like to come on screen to say goodbye. Thank you. Good night.